All right. Good evening, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. I really want to appreciate everyone for the opportunity to be able to speak in front of you all today, and I'm particularly grateful to the leadership of the province. Thank you so much. All right, so today we'll be talking about managing people, and we can look at it from different perspective. It's important to discuss managing people because as pastors, one of the most important things we will do on that role as pastors is to manage other people. From day one, your critical responsibility is managing people. So your success in being a pastor is not absolutely dependent on the anointing of God upon your head, though it's critical. The anointing is very important, but how well do you manage people? If you follow history of pastors or you read biographies of several pastors who have gone ahead of us, our forefathers, our great grandfathers in the Lord, you realize that there were so many people who succeeded because of how well they managed people, and there were so many others too whose ministry began to have issues or eventually failed because of people management. Our people are absolutely fantastic people. And I'm sure that you've seen different people. You've met them. If you've been in the ministry for a while, you would have seen all kinds of people. And these are people you cannot send out of the church. You know, if you were leading a corporate organization, it's a different ballgame entirely, because if somebody misbehaves, you can chase the person out. You give the person query the first time, you give the person a query the second time, the third time they misbehave, you send them out of the organization. But what do you do in a situation where you're just leading them? Influence is all that you have. You don't have a constitutional authority, as it were, in the case of somebody who is politically appointed or elected. In your own case, it's just leadership, and your leadership has no force over it. There's nothing you can hold on to say, if you don't do this, then these are the consequences. Because these days, you know, like they say to your face, instead of the people to change, instead of the people to perish, they change their parish. So in the days of, instead of people perishing and they are changing their parish, how do you lead? How do you enforce discipline? How do you get the people to work together with you? These are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. And before we even go on, I'll quickly share an experience with you, just in case I forget this story. So let me quickly share this with you. I remember I was pastor of a particular parish a few years back, and one of the members approached me. Oh, pastor, please, I need this thing. Can you help me? And stuff like that. I just need it for my work. It happened to be a phone and stuff like that. And interestingly, I just fixed a phone, and it was looking like a brand new phone, because one of the things I do very well is managing my phone carefully. So I gave it to this person as a gift, and I didn't even ask for anything. And would you imagine, or can you imagine, that just a few weeks down the line, this same person was using the exact phone that I gave to him as a gift to abuse me? I sent out something, and the person just felt he disagrees with what I sent, and he's not the leader of the church. I am the leader of the church. And on the same phone that I gave to him as a gift, he started blasting me with series of messages. And I'm wondering, wow, what's going on here? Now, you probably would have been in that kind of situation, or even something worse. What do you do with that person? Those are some of the things we'll talk about. And I can tell you, amongst several solutions, one of the things I do is just to say nothing in some cases, because there are contexts where they're just waiting for you to say something that they can hold on to, and they use what you're saying against you. All right. So today, what to expect when you're leading with when you are leading people? There are times we know these things already. It's just that we don't seem to be conscious of them. And when we're not conscious of them, then the things that we do unconsciously become issues for us. So it's very important that we pay more attention to them, so that we can consciously lead the people that we're leading, regardless of what they throw at us. People can be very difficult to manage. You already know that. There are stubborn people, there are aggressive people, there are lousy people in your congregation, there are people who are gentle as dove, there are people who are as brave as lion, there are people who are like chameleons, there are people who are like lizards, there are alligators. You know, just think of all the animals in their various categories: the gentle, the aggressive, in all the sizes and forms, in all their various characteristics. There are all those kinds of people, or people who represent those characters in your congregation. So how do you manage such people? There are awkward people in your congregation. You just don't know what to do with them. You don't know what to feel. You don't know what to expect. They just look funny. And when I say look funny, it's not necessarily about their dressing, but they're just acting one kind. This one, I don't understand this one. There are gentle people, there are abnormal people. And then the next thing is, if you have a larger congregation, you have people from different cultural backgrounds, you have people who came from different religious backgrounds as well. You know that in some cases, you have people who say they used to be Muslims, or they used to be this, they used to be that. There are people with different ethnic orientation in your congregation. So all of these things, as a leader, first of all, when you get on stage, always bear this in mind. When you want to say something and what you want to say, in your genuine intentions, do not speak against any cultural background, any ethnic background, or people of a certain religious background. The moment you're on stage, be conscious of the fact that there are people from those backgrounds who still have some soft spots for them in your congregation. Then the next thing is, if you're streaming your services online, you just don't know who's watching. I've seen a number of times when we're streaming our services and the people who are actually watching are Muslims. From the name, you can tell from their, and not once, not twice, we've seen some Muslims join our live streaming services. So if you are preaching and you just talk anyhow or say things anyhow, that person who is watching either online or just came visiting to your parish is a potential member that you have unconsciously begun to chase away just because of the things that you're saying. When you were saying them, you didn't mean to hurt anyone. When you were saying those things, you were just being sincere. But it's not that you don't want to tell the truth, but the truth that chases people away from you is something that you have to consider how best to put it. You say the truth, you don't lie, and you're still winning the hearts of the people. So it's very important that you put that to consideration. Then there are different people in different societal cadres, societal orientation. There are people who have it all. There are people who don't have it all. There are people who are, like we say in the layman's term, there are ajebotas, there are ajapakos, and different kinds of people like that. So if you're saying certain things, maybe you need to teach, you're using analogy, or you're doing illustrations. You don't just use illustrations that will connect only with a set of people and does not in any way connect with the other people, and they cannot relate with what you're talking about. So it's important to pay attention to the people in your audience. In public speaking training, generally, we call it audience analysis. And you see, when you do an audience analysis, you try and gauge their level of education, their exposure, their perspectives. And it's not only just by looking at them that you gauge these things. That's where interaction with your members, interaction with the congregation will also play a critical role. As you interact with the people, you begin to understand much more what is ideal, what is suitable, what you can say, what you cannot say, or how best to even interact with them. Take, for example, years ago, I heard this statement: if you must teach John Latin, you must know John and you must know Latin. Meaning that it's not enough for you to be an expert at teaching Latin. If you don't understand the makeup of John, if you don't understand his attention span, if you don't understand how he thinks, how he relates with other people, you will think that just knowing Latin is enough, until you begin to relate with John and you realize that you need to know much more than Latin and understand John very well. So we're saying, understand these people that you're leading, particularly beginning with the workers, and then the people who have genetic makeup that are different from yours. So people don't want to be controlled. That's one thing that you need to pay attention to. People don't want to be controlled. Any leader that uses more force than influence will get people to do certain things, but once that position is over, that is the end of your leadership. There are pastors who have led me over the years. They have no physical authority over me, as it were, today, but I still personally reach out to them, follow them up. What's going on? How are you? Once in a while, reach out. Why is that? If you're leading people and they don't reach out to you the moment you change your parish or the moment you move on to another level, it means that all you had over them was a positional authority. Despite the fact that your pastoral role is spiritual, your positional authority, because they look at you, oh, he's the pastor of this church. Oh, we have to respect him. Oh, we have to keep quiet. We have to do this. Whatever he says, let's just do. And the moment you leave, from that moment, nobody reaches out to you, nobody engages. Then you need to check how you're leading the people. It's important to lead with influence. When you lead with influence, I can assure you that people will be asking for more. So it's the best way to lead the people or to manage the people that you are managing. Now, don't just lead or manage because of your position. If that's all you have, there's a problem. So make sure that these people want to willingly, voluntarily, there must be a reason they want to follow you. You must be a model of some sort. It's easier to lead somebody who already sees you as a model. It's easier to see somebody who already sees something to emulate in you. It's easier for someone to follow you when they believe that you have some substance for them to take away from you. If they can't identify a substance, they don't see you as a model, there's nothing that makes you or puts you, regardless of your age, regardless of your social background, which they may be better off at, there must be something that you carry. It's either the visible anointing, it's either the technical experience, whatever it is, something must stand you out as the person who is managing these people. And that's why, as pastors, it's very important for us to constantly make sure that we're building our skills, we're developing ourselves, we're doing something different, we're constantly learning. If you're not learning and you're not ahead of your congregation, apart from just being able to teach the Bible, there's a problem somewhere. You know why? The Bible is available to all of us. The Holy Spirit is available to all of us. But if that's all you have to offer the congregation, you need to begin to work on your skill set. You need to begin to do something extra. If the Bible is all you have as well, make sure that you can teach it in a dimension that no other person can teach it. Make sure that you are gifted to the point, or you have built that gift to the point that you are the only one who can bring out the kind of insight, godly, spiritual insight, not insight that will make people wonder, is it the same Bible that we both know and understand, or do we have the same Holy Spirit? Make sure that there's something that stands you out. When you respect people, it is easier to manage them. Some people think that, oh, I should just tell them, go and do this thing. No, it doesn't work like that. Some of the people that you're talking to in your church, in your congregation, they are managers of leaders. If you visit all their offices, you'll be amazed at how many people, some of the members of your congregation, the people who say yes, sir, to you, you'll be amazed at how many people they are leading. You'll be amazed at how many people who say yes, sir, to them every day, every night, or every morning when they resume at their offices. So the fact that they submit to you does not mean that you boss them around. The way you boss people around is to respect them. Respect is the easiest way to control anyone. You respect them to the point where you ask them to do something, they don't even see it as an instruction. See, for several years, unfortunately, you see, I've seen pastors in this generation that it's now that we don't think it's important to respect people and call them brothers, sisters, pastor this, pastor that, or sister this, sister that. Just because you think that you're not a pastor of the church, you just come, whether they are older than you or they are not, you just, as they say in Yoruba, you just slam their names on their heads. John, come here. Tolu, come here. Bosse, come here. DK, come here. Dixon, come here. No. Even if you're older, for years, I've seen people that I know so well, I'm older than them, and I still call them, oh, brother this, brother John, brother Tolu, brother Tokwe, brother or sister Maxwell, sister this. It's something that in a way connects with the people. They know that you are older. And despite knowing that you're older and you still respect them, they give you more respect willingly. So you don't just boss people and command people around and expect that they will deliver more results. First of all, offer respect. Don't wait to be respected automatically just because you are their leader. Offer some respect first. The way you address them, the way you talk to them, the way you give instructions to them, offer some respect. Then, how do you manage people successfully? Let's see how much of that we can cover in the time that we have left. Number one, observe people as you relate with them. There are people in your congregation whose ego you have to massage and you don't have a choice. There are people in your churches that have become principalities. In fact, I jokingly tell my wife, I say, those people, they are the senior brothers of Daddy Gio. And when I say somebody is a senior brother of Daddy G, of course, the person is not in technical terms or in any biological terms the senior brother of our Father in the Lord. But I'm just joking that they become too big, they become too large. You give them their own space. You don't try to compete as far as authority is concerned with such people. Just observe and watch and see how best to manage those people. Then number two, listen to people before you boss them. Listen first. It's so important that you listen to other people. If you're giving instructions to people and you don't listen to them, you will get to that point where people will start wondering, okay, so what are we doing? If all you do is just give us instructions and you don't hear us. So it's important that you listen to people before you just give out instructions to them. As you tell them, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? There are times you show up and you say, okay, people, what do you think we should do? In fact, sometimes you already know what you want to do. You already have an idea what you're going to do, but you don't say anything. You just tell them, okay, what do you think we should do? And then everybody begins to talk, they begin to contribute. And as they contribute, at the end of the day, you now say, all right, thank you, everybody. And based on what you have said, and actually, what everybody contributed aligns with what you already wrote. In fact, you can guide the conversation in such a manner that they align with the things you already wrote down. And by the time you talk to them, they are beginning to get the impression that what you're saying is what they told you, not knowing that you had a clear note written down for what you were going to execute. But because you gave them the permission to contribute, because you asked them to say their minds, they believe that they were part of the team. It's easier for people to get things done when you get them involved than to say, this is what we're going to do, let's go and get it done. So it's important to listen to them before you instruct them. Then seek to understand the people that you deal with. There are people who are dealing with issues. There are people, if you don't seek to understand your people, you may blame them for not coming to church early, for not being effective as workers. Try and understand them. There are people who are still dealing with issues that they've not come out with, they've not come out of those issues. And if there are such issues that they are still dealing with, one of the things you can do, even if you can't resolve the problem, is to encourage them. And if you proffer some encouragement or offer some encouragement, it's going to assuage their feelings. Then they respond to you more effectively. Human beings naturally respond to leaders who connect with their feelings before dishing out instructions to them. If you only dish out instructions before asking or before trying to connect with the people, then you are going to meet with a brick wall. People can, don't forget that you have no authority per se to hold anybody down. And because you have no authority to hold everybody, that whoever is staying in your congregation is staying voluntarily. Don't say, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. They didn't have a choice. It's a lie. There's no such thing as they didn't have a choice. Anybody staying is staying willingly. And maybe up until now, if you have not been doing it effectively, it's possible they've not found a better alternative. The moment they found a better alternative, the moment they find someone who treats them better, you can be sure that next Sunday their attendance is not guaranteed. So it's important to treat people well, seek to understand them. Then don't expect everyone to be like you. Sometimes we have the tendency to try and change people. We have the tendency to say, oh, for example, I do this, I do that. Why can't you do it? Well, there are a million and one reasons they can't do it. Even if you have a twin brother, your twin brother doesn't do exactly everything that you do all the time. Your twin brother does not perform exactly as you do in every way. Your DNA is different. Your eyeballs are different. Your fingerprints are different. So you don't expect people that you don't even know from anywhere, that you just met in church. You all came from different parts of the country, and then you expect them to be exactly like you or to do things. You have to encourage people into your own level of discipline. If you're extraordinarily disciplined with time, disciplined with resources, disciplined with the things, or committed to the things of God, you grow them, you encourage them into that level of commitment. I can tell you for sure, one of the things that easily frustrates me is when people are not punctual, when people are indisciplined with, time management and stuff like that. And over time, I had to tell myself, look, Fola, these people are not like you. You have a different training, you have a different background. So it's going to take time for them to grow into that level of discipline that you have. And for some other people, it's going to take a level of encouragement for them to get into that level. So you be careful with people, because if you push them too hard, you can break people. You need these people, and pushing them too hard will break them. And if you break them, they become unusable. When I say break now, it means that you've broken their hearts, you've broken their spirit to the point where they then decide that church is not even for them at all, that they are not coming to church at all. So it's better we just even stay at home. It's better we just go somewhere else. Don't push people to the point where you break them. Then understand that people will have different views. Everybody will not think exactly the way you think. Everybody will not see the same thing that you see. If you can see my screen, I'm hoping that your screen is not too small. You realize that there's an image on the screen. And depending on where you are, some people will say this is 6, some people will say this is 9. And as I'm sitting even right in front of the screen, I'm also asking myself, is this 6 or is this 9? So from my right hand, it looks like it's 9. From my left hand, it looks like it's 6. So if a single figure is looking different on the right and it's also looking different on the left, you need to understand that sometimes when you're dealing with issues in your church, you're all saying exactly the same thing. You're just saying it from different perspectives. If you would learn to understand people, then you would be able to understand that what they are saying is similar to what you're saying. It's just that you're seeing it from different perspectives. However, I know that there are some people who are very manipulative. I've come across a few people like that too. People who think that as the pastor, you must do what they say. If somebody believes that you must do what they say, that person is being manipulative. Watch out for such people and don't ever give in to such people, particularly if their opinions do not align with the vision of the church, the vision of the mission, or you don't have divine instruction to even follow their direction. So make sure that you stand your ground. It's not all the time that you must take everything. However, be seen to take other people's opinions, be seen to respect other people's views, even if they are different. Try and understand them before you conclude that what they are saying is nonsense. If you conclude that what somebody is saying is nonsense, even before you understand their opinions or their views, then you're being too hasty. Then, if you disagree with people, deal with the issues, not the person. There are reasons for you to disagree with people, and it's okay for you to disagree with people. Even amongst pastors, we may have reasons to disagree with ourselves. The leadership may have reasons to disagree with the people they're leading. The people they are leading may have reasons to disagree with people who are leading them. But whenever you have disagreement, it must be issues that you deal with, not the personalities. For example, I took a course in philosophy several years in the university, and they talk about logic. You attack someone's logic and not the person's personality. Take, for example, if somebody says, oh, if you bring 1 and 1 together, it's going to give us 4. Now, you ask yourself, how is it possible that 1 and 1 will give us 4? What you are trying to attack is the person's logic. But the moment you say, oh, 1 and 1 will give us 4, okay, oh, I'm not surprised. I know that Oludoni won't. I know that you are so dumb. I know that you can never amount to. I'm not surprised. You're a Yoruba boy, so that's the way they behave. That you're already attacking people's personalities, people's tribes, and so you're not dealing with the issue. Somebody has said 1 plus 1 is 4. You know it's not 4, so argue it out. In fact, there is nothing wrong with arguing it out without shouting, without cursing one another. So the most important thing is whenever you're dealing with anybody, make sure that you're dealing with the issues and never the personality of the person. Then I also wanted to say something as I was brooding over this. It also occurred to me to say that there are some issues you never take to the altar. Whatever the issue is, no matter how pained you are, there are some issues you never address on the altar. You know why? The moment you start addressing all those issues on the altar, you are already creating a negative atmosphere for even people who don't know about the issue. So you are opening up and you're spreading the negativity, not realizing that the person who wants to be like a cancerous tumor should be dealt with in isolation. There are people who can become so rude, so insolent in your parish. Deal with them in isolation. Don't let them drag you to the public space where you now begin to deal with them publicly, or you want to show that you are in charge. You want to show that you have authority. And the moment you do that, the people who don't know the issues, who don't know the beginning of the matter, will only see how you responded. They will not know what the person did to you. And on the basis of how you responded, they may decide that you're a bad person, you're a terrible leader. You can't be good if you did this person. And they may never get the chance to understand or to even hear what the person did to you. In all fairness, what the person did to you may be the worst thing ever. A few weeks back, I got to church and I asked somebody to say something, and right in front of the workers in the congregation, one of the workers said to me, no. And the person the person outrightly disrespected me in the front of the workers. What do you think I did in that situation? I didn't drag with him. I didn't even say anything. I just looked at it. I just pointed to the next person and asked the next person to go ahead and, it was later I now brought the person out and dealt with the issue with the person personally. But if you think that you have to be dragging with them and doing that, at some point, you are the person the people will see. You are the one at the top. You are the one leading and managing the people. So you must be careful how you manage people who want to become cancerous tumors in your parish, in your congregation, amongst your workers. More importantly, be polite in relating with people. The fact that you are the leader does not mean you can not say, please, hello, thank you, excuse me, could you please? And let me quickly say something. You know, there's a difference between please and kindly. When you say kindly, it's a polite instruction. It's not really being humble. The real appropriate thing to say is please. Please, can you help me with this? Please, can you help me with it? When you say kindly, you're telling the person you don't have a choice, and you can look it up. That's what it means. So kindly is not please. They're two different things. As much as possible, tell people please, tell people kindly, tell people, could you please do this? Can you please do this? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate you for that. If they do something for you, it's not because they are your servants. It's not because they be nice and be thankful when they do stuff for you. Be patient. Be very patient. I remember started with telling you that years ago somebody walked up to me and said, "Oh, Pastor, please, I need help. I don't have a phone. I need an extra phone and stuff like that." In the days when Android devices were beginning to reign, and I gave this person a phone, and weeks later I said something that this person didn't agree with, and there was nothing wrong with what I even said. The person just didn't agree with it and started abusing me with the phone that I gave to him. I just kept quiet and I kept managing him. I just kept making sure that there was no way the issue became obvious to the congregation, and there was no way I allowed his issue to determine how I behaved. In fact, there was a day I wanted to punish the choir for doing something. The choir did something and I wasn't happy with them. So I said to them, all right, today, all of you, you're going to wait behind, you're grounded, and this is what is going to happen. Do you know that this person, after I said all of that to the choir, because he thinks that he's the assistant, this person went and bought drinks for all the choir members that I was trying to punish. So what do you do in that situation? Do you start fighting the person? I'm trying to punish somebody. You go all out and you buy drinks for all the people that I'm trying to punish. You make them feel relaxed and you're trying to tell them nothing can happen. Over time, as I managed some of those issues, eventually he was the one that walked out by himself. He became frustrated and walked out by himself, because he expected that I would respond, react in certain ways, and I did not react in all of those manners that he expected. However, you must note, as I said earlier, it's your reaction that everybody will report. Nobody will report what that person did to you. So be patient. Somebody tries to get you angry, be patient. Somebody tries to frustrate you, be patient. You're getting all the work done. Somebody is not crediting you for the work, be patient. Over time, you see, the most important thing, just like the Bible says, whatever it is that we're doing, let us do it as unto the Lord. We're not doing it to impress people. So it's going to be so crucial to be patient when you're managing people. Then empathize with people. Empathize with people. Several years ago, as a campus pastor, I remember that we were to get to the fellowship, I think it was by 7 a.m. And sometimes it was difficult, particularly when it rained. So one day it was drizzling, I was drenched, and I was thinking, oh boy, my pastor will not like this. He's going to scold me. No, I don't like this at all. But as soon as I got to the door of the fellowship, the same pastor that I thought was going to scold me and shout at me and punish me for coming late, he just brought out his face towel from the back pocket and gave me to wipe my face. The moment he did that, he just brought me down. All the agitations and everything just calmed down. So it's important to empathize with people. Put yourself in their shoes. Be nice to them. Go all out to show that you care about these people. It may not necessarily be about giving them money, giving them. So if you have something, give to them. If you have connections, give to them. If you have influence in some places, use your influence to them, but show that you care. And the people that you show that you care, some of them, I will be naive, and we will all be naive to think that if you are nice to people, automatically they owe you. It doesn't work like that. There's an issue. There's someone I'm currently managing right now. I still give that person something, and I expect, and for a while the person behaved. After a while, the person started misbehaving again. It's like when the weather changes, their capacity or their character also changes. their default setting is weather controlled. So the fact that you're being nice to people does not mean that they will enter the default mode of being respectful. Over time, they may change, but you still have to empathize. Then encourage or motivate. Of course, if you're empathizing, this is the major thing you're doing. You're encouraging or motivating people to work with you. If there are opportunities that come to you, don't hoard the opportunities and give people responsibilities. Don't hoard opportunities and give people responsibilities. There are some people like that. You are managing others. You are hoarding all the opportunities and giving people responsibilities. It makes you a very wicked person. So if for whatever reason your people see you like that, you need to change their perspective. Then communicate. I'll wrap up in like 2 minutes now. So communicate always with your people. Don't be seen as somebody who is doing everything by yourself. It's important to always communicate with your followers, with your with the group of leaders that you are leading. Then give people responsibilities. One of the things I like to do where I have enough hands is to always make people leader of leaders using the strategy that Moses' father-in-law gave to him. When you make people leader of leaders, it just gives them a sense of responsibility. And the people that report to them, you make them understand that, look, this is the person you report to on this matter, and only this person comes to me to give me feedback. So make people leader of leaders, make people report to them, and get feedback from all of them. But you want to do a project, don't be the only one to conceptualize, develop, and execute everything. You only give them instructions on what to execute. Ask them questions. What do you think? It looks like you're an expert. What do you think? What's your professional opinion in this case? From your experience, what do you think? You want to do something in the church. Sometimes it may look insignificant, but just asking for someone's opinion helps that person. It boosts the confidence of those people. So communicate with the people that you're managing. Then different kinds of people. Okay, let me wrap up with this. Number one, there are those you call choleric. There are those you call sanguine. There are those you call phlegmatic. And finally, there are those you call melancholic. I'll give you a quick explanation of each one, just in case you have never met these people before. A choleric person is somebody who is known to be a bit aggressive. They are go-getters. They are so... They always have a lot of fire. They have a lot of energy. They are like workaholics. So if you're that kind of a person, you're practical, you're successful, you're independent, it's possible to step on other people's toes to even get your goals achieved. A public leader who is an example of a choleric is President Obasanjo, or former President Obasanjo. In the United States, somebody like President Donald Trump. Those ones will focus on their goals and nothing else matters, even if they have to climb on you to get their goals achieved. That's a choleric. The advantage with them is that they are go-getters. The disadvantage with them is that they may not care what you think. They may not care about your feelings, your opinions. The most important thing for them is to get things done. And they are usually logical. However, if you're like this, you need to calm down because you may lose people in the bid to get things done. Now, the sanguine, these are visionary people. The most important thing, though, the most common thing people know about the sanguines is that they talk a lot, they are lively, they are visionaries. You want to think about something, call the sanguines. They will explain it to you. They will create a vision. But one weakness of sanguines is that they may talk a lot and not execute. But if you help them out, whatever you ask them to come up with, they will eventually execute. Then number three, phlegmatic. These are very analytical people, most likely to see all the problems in everything that looks perfect to you. Give them a document that you spent 10 hours working on. Within a short while, the phlegmatic will see the mistakes in it. They're very analytical. Melancholic, these are the people that have mood swings. And any small thing, they start crying. Any small thing, they start weeping. They need to be pampered. You see, all these four people are in your congregation. And you also fall into at least one major category. You may have one other. For example, I'm a combination of a choleric and a sanguine. I mean, I'm visionary, I think, I talk, I do so many things. But one thing that helps me is that I'm also a choleric. So the go-getting spirit helps me to achieve that vision and stuff like that. But what do you do? If you have somebody who is a choleric in your congregation or in your workforce, use them to achieve goals. You have somebody who is a sanguine, use them as teachers, use them to, conceptualize things. They are the best people when it comes to imagining things or creating stuff. It doesn't mean that other people cannot do it, but they are just naturally gifted in that area. When you come up with a concept, ask the phlegmatics to look at it. They will immediately tell you what the problem is. Then you want to do CSR, you want to empathize with people, use the melancholic people in your congregation. These people, they empathize because they have natural mood swings. They easily understand and empathize with other people. For the lack of time on our side, I would like to stop here and then ask that we go into the interactive session. And I hope that the time I've spent, you've learned something very useful for your congregation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.